Intonation and Stress Patterns using Chris Paul. If you're not familiar with who Chris Paul is, he is a basketball player in the United States, plays in the NBA. He's currently competing for an NBA championship right now. So, again, he's a basketball player. We're going to be listening to an interview with Chris, trying to pay attention specifically to American English pronunciation. So, we're going to be looking for our key things are going to be stress, like which words he is stressing as he speaks. We're also going to be paying attention a little bit to intonation, specifically in the last words of thought groups. Okay. Now, if you're not sure what any of those words are, just a quick review. Stress. English is a stress-timed language. That means that when you say a sentence, there are going to be some words that are going to be easier to hear. They're going to be said more clearly than others. And that's because the pitch is going to be higher. And also, the word is going to be held a little bit longer. So, for instance, in a sentence like this, like, I eat cake. I eat cake. I eat cake. In that sentence, cake is your stress. I eat cake. Cake has a higher pitch, and it also has a vowel sound that's just held a little bit longer. So that's the key thing with stress. Intonation patterns. There are two types. There are other types, but two main types in English. They're going to be rising. So kind of like what you hear there. Rise, rise, and also falling. Fall, fall. So again, rise, fall. So we're going to be trying to identify some things like that in his speech. In addition, we're also going to be looking for thought groups. If you're not sure what a thought group is, think about how you say a sentence, especially like if you have a longer sentence. You need to know where can you pause, where can you breathe, where are some natural places to do that. So that's where thought groups come in. Thought groups are, in a sentence, the places where you can pause naturally. Okay, so we're going to try to identify these things. Thought groups will be helpful because if you can identify the thought group in a sentence, then you can know, okay, I'm probably going to need to stress because every thought group needs to have one major stress. Okay, so we're going to be paying attention to all of these things. Now, as we go through this, you'll see me putting on my headphones just to note, so that way I can hear what Chris is saying, but you should also be able to hear what Chris is saying too. So if you can't, be sure to let me know so I can change our settings. And hey, Ali, thanks for joining us, man. As we go through this, of course, please let me know, Ali, if you have questions or anyone else who's joining us. And if you're joining us later, you can always leave a comment, and I'll try my best to respond as soon as I can. Let's take a look and see what we got again with Chris Paul. Ali, as I was doing this, Chris Paul, I know Ali is a Rockets fan, and Chris Paul used to play for the Rockets. I was thinking about you. Okay, so let's kind of just listen to this first sentence. You should be able to see the transcript over here. So we're going to be looking at that so you can see the words as we do this. Let's kind of start off by just listening to a small part and identifying where we think the thought groups are.
We knew that they were going to come out aggressive. They was going to.
Let's just pause there really quick. Let's kind of just play that part again.
We knew that they were going to come out aggressive.
Okay, so for me, as I'm going through this, and Ali, if you have a question, be sure to let me know. You can just post it. It's like I'm hearing like, oh, we knew. I'm hearing a little bit of a pause there. I'm gonna play again. See if you hear any other pauses in this first part.
We knew that they were going to come out aggressive.
So like for me, I'm hearing we knew that. Oh, we have a question here too about I fancy going swimming. Can I say I fancy going swimming? Like it doesn't mean like it's not a super common word, at least in American English. You're not really going to hear fancy. So is it possible to say that? Yeah, but it's not going to be a super common. I'll put it this way. I can't tell you the last word I used, fancy, as a verb. A lot of times if you use it, it's used more as like a joke, not something to be taken super seriously. Let's see again for that thought group if there's any other thought groups there.
We knew that they were going to come out aggressive.
We knew that they were going to come out aggressive. So maybe I could see a thought group after 2. We knew that they were going to come out aggressive. It's like, oh, we knew that they were going to come out aggressive. So if I had to identify thought groups, those are the places where I would put them personally. And like I mentioned before, once you have your thought groups, you can then start looking for your stresses because every thought group is going to have a word that's stressed. So play it again. See what words you hear being stressed. If you want to let me know in the chat, let me know. What words do you hear being stressed in each of these thought groups?
We knew that they were gonna come out aggressive. They was
Okay, so that first one. I'm personally hearing a stress on new. And then in the second sentence, I think I'm hearing it repeated. It's like, we knew that they were going to. And then how about in the last thought group? What word do you hear being emphasized there? I'm going to play it again. See if you can identify the stress in that last thought group.
we knew that they were gonna come out aggressive.
I'm personally hearing that stress coming down on aggressive. Okay, so again, we knew that they were going to come out aggressive. Okay, and again, stressed words tend to have that slightly higher pitch, and they also tend to be held just a little bit longer than the surrounding words. You may not always get both of those. You may not always get the higher pitch or the lengthened sound, but those are super common traits for the stressed word. Okay. One thing too that we mentioned that we would talk about is intonation patterns. Like, are we rising or are we falling? So this is one thing, for instance, if you're doing shadowing exercises where you're trying to repeat what you hear, doing this type of analysis can help make sure that you're imitating the sounds correctly. So let's look at the last word of each thought group and see if we can identify what intonation pattern it's using. Is it rising or is it falling?
We knew.
How about for new? What are you hearing there? Is it new or is it new?
We knew.
I'm personally hearing more of a fall. We knew falling. We knew fall there.
We knew that they were gonna come out.
We knew that they were going to. We knew that they were going to. What's going on with that too?
We knew that they were gonna come out.
Going to. Notice that too is getting reduced here. So he's not saying going to. What's he saying instead? Let's kind of just hear how he's pronouncing that.
We knew that they were gonna come out.
They were gonna. Instead of going to, gonna. They were gonna. They're gonna. But so now we've kind of heard that linking going on with going to getting reduced to just gonna. They were gonna.
We knew that they were gonna come out.
Gonna. I would say slight rising intonation here. They were gonna. And then our last part.
Aggressive. They was.
For aggressive, do you hear a rising?
We knew that they were gonna come out aggressive. They
come out aggressive. Come out aggressive. I would say at the very end, specifically the last syllable of aggressive, I'm hearing more of a fall. Aggressive. They're going to come out aggressive.
We knew that they were going to come out aggressive.
Yeah. So that whole thing, what I'm hearing, just based off my notes, and again, this can help with shadowing. So once you have your notes, you can try to say it to yourself and then compare it to the original. But I imagine this is going to sound like, we knew that they were going to come out aggressive. We knew that they were going to come out aggressive. So again, I have all my markings, my stresses, intonations, and thought groups to help me try to imitate this as best I can. So let's listen to the original one last time here.
We knew that they were going to come out aggressive.
Perfect. Okay. So again, that's what I'm hearing for that first part down to aggressive. Let's take a look down to aggressive with us in that next line. Ali makes a note. Disappointed while listening to native speakers with high speed speaking. I think, and this is just my own impression, so if you disagree, please let me know in the comments. I think a lot of times, people treat beginning students like they need to, listen to really slow materials, and advanced students like they need to listen to faster materials. I personally try, when I was teaching in the classroom, I really tried to expose even beginning level students to things that are said at a natural pace. I don't think that the issue a lot of times is actually the speed. I think a lot of times the issue is things like the pronunciation and the linking for sounds. One of the dangers of using, especially in English, again, English is a stress timed language. One of the dangers of using materials that are too slow is that you lose a lot of the linking, you lose a lot of the reductions, because again, if you're speaking slower, you're adding more stress to words. So you're not pronouncing those words naturally, and so that can be a problem. If you're a beginner, intermediate level student, and you're only listening to slower materials, so then you decide you want to try faster materials, and you're like, oh, this is too hard. I don't necessarily think it's too hard. I think it's just you've trained your ear to listen to things that don't that honestly don't really exist in English. English is a language that's spoken in natural contexts with natural linking and natural reductions, and so if you're listening to slower materials, you're obviously not going to get that. So if you're a beginning level student or an intermediate level student watching this, I would really encourage you to watch naturally paced materials, but ones that use a vocabulary that you can understand. I think if you can understand the vocab, that's obviously going to help with your comprehension. This again, it still can be difficult. I'm not going to say that it's going to be easy, but I think it's over time it's going to train you to kind of become a better listener if you start with materials that are at a more natural pace. Let's look at that second sentence again, starting with the they was going to. Another thing here you're going to see, there are going to be some, how do I put this? You're going to see some grammatical forms here that you're not going to find necessarily in textbooks. I wouldn't necessarily say it's wrong grammar, but I would say it's like non-standard, or it's not non-standard, I guess I would say. Not the types of things that you would see in your exercise books and things like that. So for instance, like the they was going to versus the they were going to and things like that. They were going would be your more standard form. But again, this is more of a listening and pronunciation exercise. So let's take a look at this next part.
They was going to try to get over ball screens, be a lot more aggressive with us.
Let's put that again. Lots of great linking and things going on here.
Aggressive. They was going to try to get over ball screens, be a lot more aggressive with us.
Let's listen again. Let's try to identify some thought groups to start.
Aggressive. They was going to try to get over ball screens, be a lot more aggressive with us.
I'm hearing a thought group after ball screens. I was hearing a bit of a thought group there after the us at the end. And you probably even could add another thought group in this first part, from the they down to ball screens. We could probably add another pause in here. Let's try to look and see where we could add that. And again, if you have an idea, you can also let me know.
Aggressive. They was going to try to get over ball screens, be a lot more aggressive with it.
I'm kind of personally hearing it around here. They was going to. So now we've identified where we think the thought groups are. Again, kind of same practice as before. Let's see if we can identify where the stresses are. So once you have your thought groups, next step, find your stress. What words in each thought group stand out to you?
Aggressive. They was going to try to get over ball screens, be a lot more aggressive with us.
Any stresses that you're hearing? I again am hearing a stress on aggressive. I'm hearing a stress on ball screens. This is a compound noun. Ball screens, type of move in basketball. And then I'm a little bit unsure about that first one, so let's listen to that first part again.
Gonna try to get over ball screen.
Back it up a little more.
Gonna come out aggressive. They was gonna try to get over ball.
They was going. Kind of hearing it more on they. They was going.
Aggressive. They was gonna try to get over ball screens, be a lot more aggressive with us.
So I'm hearing they was going to try to get over ball screens, be a lot more aggressive with us. So that's kind of what I'm hearing. Okay. So let's talk about some linking, because I do think there's some linking going on that I think would be helpful to review.
Gonna come out aggressive. They was gonna try.
They was going. So notice that instead of going to, this time it's just going. They was going. And again, it's almost like you're taking off that ng sound and just kind of leaving with the n. Going. They was going. And then the next part,
aggressive. They was gonna try to get over ball screens.
try to get over ball screens. Try to get over ball screens. I think there's a pretty clear stress on ball there. Try and get over ball screens. Let's hear the try to get again.
Gonna try to get over ball.
Try to get over. Try to get over. Notice that reduction on to.
They was gonna try to get over.
Try to get over. Try to get over. Super common linking here. You're going to hear this in all types of people that you meet in North America, this type of linking. Try to, notice that instead of try to, it's more try to. So that T in to is typically going to become like a fast D sound because it's surrounded by vowels. You get that I sound before it. You get that O sound after the T. So that T is going to become like a fast D. So like try to, and notice that that O in to gets reduced to like a schwa sound. It's like instead of to, instead of try to, try to. It's going to sound much more natural to pronounce those two words that way. Try to. And you're going to see a similar thing happening too with the get over. Again, that T surrounded by vowels. You have the E before it. You have the O after it. When this happens in English, T is typically going to become a fast D sound. It's like try to get over, try to get over. Listen to that again. See if you can hear all these things.
Come out aggressive. They was gonna try to get over ball screens.
Try to get over ball screens. You hear that? Try to get over ball screens.
Be a lot more aggressive with us.
How about that last part too with the with us?
They was gonna try to get over ball screens. Be a lot more aggressive with us.
With us. So again, this is a feature you may hear in some people's speech as well. When instead of saying with us, you may just hear with us. Okay, where that TH is actually also kind of linking to become like a fast D sound as well. It's like with us instead of with us. Okay, another feature that you may hear some people do. Okay. So again, I'm going to play everything that we've done to this point, just to give you an idea of what this sounds like. Let me read through it first, just to kind of check our markings. We knew that they were going to come out aggressive. They was going to try to get over ball screens and be a lot more aggressive with us. Or with us, remember?
We knew that they were gonna come out aggressive. They was gonna try to get over ball screens, be a lot more aggressive with it.
Ball screens. I want to just note the intonation there really quick. Is it screens or is it screens? Is it more
Aggressive. They was gonna try to get over ball screens.
Try to get over ball screens. I'm kind of hear a rise there, which would make sense because there's more information coming. And in English, if you're talking and you want to let the people know that you still have other things you want to add, it's very common to use a rising intonation there to demonstrate that. Try to go over ball screens and be a lot more aggressive with us.
Aggressive. They was gonna try to get over ball screens, be a lot more aggressive with us.
And then I'm hearing kind of a fall more on us. Okay. And of course, as I go through this, if you guys have other questions and things, be sure to let me know. Otherwise, we'll take a look at our next sentence. Let's see if we can find a nice place to pause.
Excuse me. We withstood their punch. You know, we knew that they was gonna hit us hard.
That sounds like a nice place to pause, starting with the heart. Let's play that again. And I want you to, again, as I play this, be thinking about everything we've mentioned before. I want you to maybe start off just trying to identify thought groups. Or if you're having trouble with thought groups, maybe you can try to pay attention to stresses. What words do you hear being emphasized?
Aggressive. They was gonna try to get over ball screens, be a lot more aggressive with us. Excuse me. We withstood their punch. You know, we knew that they was gonna hit us hard.
Again, Lee has a question about the they was. Again, this is you're going to meet, you know, there are standard forms of English that are going to use what you are used to seeing in textbooks and things like that. But if you actually talk to lots of people on the street, you're not necessarily going to hear those sorts of things. You know, in real life, people aren't always following those types of grammatical rules, you know. Again, the goal of a language is to communicate an idea. You know, and the reality is that, you know, they were, in a lot of ways aren't so important in terms of communicating that idea. Let's go back. Let's see other places with thought groups so far.
Try to get over ball screens, be a lot more aggressive with us. Excuse me.
So I'm hearing thought group on excuse me, and then we get the kind of on its own as well.
We withstood their punch.
We withstood, pause, their punch, pause.
We knew that they was gonna hit us hard.
A lot of times, like, is kind of just one of those like filler word situations. Doesn't actually really mean much. I would separate that in its own little thought group. And then that second
We
part.
knew that they was gonna hit us hard.
We knew that they was going to hit us hard. We knew that.
Their punch. We knew that they was gonna hit us hard.
We knew that it was going to hit us hard. I would even maybe say you could have a thought group after that. We knew that it was going to hit us hard. Okay. All right, so now we've identified thought groups. Same thing as before. Let's see if we can identify some places where we're stressing. Remember, every thought group should have one word that receives heavy stress. There may be other stresses in a thought group, but one word needs to be receiving the heaviest stress.
Ball screens, be a lot more aggressive with us. Excuse me.
Excuse me. I'm hearing the stress there on cues. Like, excuse me. Again, if you have one word in a thought group, that's your easy choice.
We withstood their punch.
We withstood, especially on the stood part. Their punch, stress on punch.
We knew that they was gonna hit us hard.
We knew that. Stress on new. They're going to hit us hard. Stress on hard. A lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, if you see an adjective or an adverb at the end of a sentence, it often gets stressed. Not always, but it is a pretty common spot for that to happen. All right, so again, I'm hearing stress on excuse, stood, punch, no, new, hard. So for instance, if I'm just reading this, if I were trying to shadow it, just based on what I have here, I imagine it would sound like, excuse me, we withstood their punch. We knew that it was going to hit us hard. So that's kind of what I'm hearing there. So now that we have those stresses, again, we can do kind of the same thing. Just try to find intonation patterns.
Ball screens, be a lot more aggressive with us. Excuse me.
Excuse me. Falling. Something here. I'm hearing more. Kind of slight rise there.
We withstood their.
We withstood. Notice that rise. And again, it's kind of doing what we mentioned earlier, where by having this rising intonation, it just lets your listener know that there's more information coming. You're not done talking yet. So still going on. We withstood.
Punch.
Their punch. We withstood their punch. Falling.
We knew that they was gonna hit us hard.
This also kind of indicates too. So I'm hearing a falling intonation more on no, like and this is really common because notice that on the U it's kind of more of a rising intonation, and this is something that native speakers are going to do a lot. Where if you have a part, if you're going to end a thought group on like a falling intonation, then it's very common before that, whatever syllable comes before it, to have the opposite. It's like a rising intonation, like like it's like a fall on you then a rise on no. It's like or the opposite. If you have a falling intonation on no and then a rising intonation on you, like Okay, so things like that. Do the opposite of whatever your last intonation pattern is right before it. Okay, you saw that also in like their punch. Let's play that back.
We withstood their punch.
There, rising, there, and then falling on punch. Punch, there, punch. Same idea. Okay, we know that we're going to fall on punch, so on there we're going to do a slight rise. We withstood their punch.
We knew that they was going to hit us hard.
We knew that. Hearing a slight rise there. They was going to hit us hard. And again, rise on hard. Because he's not done talking, or it sounds like he's not done talking. And the next line confirms that. You see like, but guy stepped up. So he's not done talking. You have this next part, the contrast with but. Okay, so that's a pretty common pattern. This is such what you would expect.
their punch. You know, we knew that they was gonna hit us hard.
You know that they was going to hit us hard. Okay. All right. So again, this is kind of what I'm seeing here in terms of stress. What words are being stressed? What words are rising? What words are falling? Things like that. Okay. Let's maybe do one more sentence. Focusing, we don't have to focus as much on the intonation, but at least practicing identifying thought groups and stress. Because if you're doing this on your own, or if you're trying to improve your own listening, then I at least recommend doing these two things. At least try to find thought groups and at least try to find stresses, because these are such key components of English to sounding natural. Okay, so let's go from that next part down to song.
But you know, God stepped up and we weathered the storm.
And just to note, he's not saying song, he's saying we weathered the storm. Relatively common idiom, especially in sports. Okay, like you weather a storm, like it's a difficult situation. The other team's doing well, but you just kind of battle. Okay. So let's just see really quick in this part here. Thought groups, stress. Just trying to identify two things. Start off with thought groups.
But you know, God stepped up and we weathered the storm.
Guys stepped up, thought group, and we weathered the storm. End of thought group after storm. Okay, let's see if there's other thought groups I missed, especially in the beginning.
But
Thought group.
you know, God stepped up and
Guys stepped up. Yeah, I think that's fine. But but you know, guys stepped up and we weathered the storm. So that's kind of what I'm hearing. So let's play that again. Let's now try to identify where our stress is in this.
but their punch. You know, we knew that they was gonna hit us hard. But you know, God stepped up and we weathered the storm.
What words are you here being stressed? You could even maybe say and but in your own groups. So stress on stress on but. I'm hearing stress on guys. You know, guys stepped up and we weathered the storm. Stressed on storm. Okay. And one thing, if you're doing this type of analysis on your own, just a general hint is that if you're not sure where the stress is, you're like, okay, I think I know where the thought group is, but I'm not sure where the stress is entirely. If you're not entirely sure, then my suggestion would be look towards the end of the thought group. In general, English is stressing things that fall towards the ends of thought groups at the ends of sentences. So what I would recommend, start there, see if the stress makes sense there. Listen again and see if you can hear the stress in that position. So for instance, I'm really hearing a stress on storm. This isn't always the case, and I think the sentence there where it says, you know, guys stepped up. Like, I'm hearing a heavier stress on guys there than up. So stressing on up wouldn't quite make sense in this case. But in general, if you're not sure where stress is, that's my suggestion.
That they was gonna hit us hard. But you know, God stepped up.
I'm hearing guys stepped up. Guys stepped up. You know, I'm just hearing that extra pitch just a little bit higher on guys. Guys stepped up.
And we weathered the storm.
And we weathered the storm. And we weathered the storm. So it's like, but, you know, guys stepped up and we weathered the storm. I guess that's kind of what I'm hearing there. All right, so I'm going to play everything one last time, just based on everything that we've done to this point. Let's also kind of model this as a shadowing exercise. So if you, again, are interested in doing shadowing and you want to make it even more effective, I recommend doing this type of analysis. You don't have to be as in-depth. You could just kind of focus on thought groups and stress, or even just stress. You know, do whatever feels comfortable for you based on your time and your mood. But then this is how I would suggest doing shadowing once you have it marked up. Play the original audio and then play yourself repeating after it.
We knew.
It's like, we knew. And again, I'm just going to be following based on the thought groups.
We knew that they were gonna come out
We knew that they were going to
aggressive. They was
come out aggressive.
gonna try to get over ball screens.
They was going to try to get over ball screens
Be a lot more aggressive with us.
and be a lot more aggressive with us.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
We withstood
We withstood
their punch.
their punch.
You know, we knew that they was gonna hit us hard.
You know, we knew that they was going to hit us hard.
But you know, God stepped up and
but you know, guys stepped up
We weathered the storm.
and we weathered the storm. Because that's, if you're practicing shadowing exercises, this is definitely the strategy that I would use if I had more time to dedicate, instead of just like listening and then repeating. Do a little bit more analysis just to kind of understand the patterns a little bit more deeply. Okay, guys, but again, that's all I have for today. I do have to run to my next class. If you're looking for more practice with stress, intonation, shadowing, and things like that, be sure to take a look at our videos. We also have playlists that are dedicated to stress and also dedicated to shadowing exercises as well. And I'll try to put those in the notes after this. But thank you as always for your time. It's always great to hear from you. Hope you have a good day, a good night, and a good afternoon. I will see you guys at our next live stream next week. You guys take care.